Okay, welcome to part 2 of our introductory series. I'm going to go over two major things. The first is options here. Um, Going through here, you can set the text to a number of different languages. Not even sure everything that it's up to, but it's quite a bit. I've heard the translations on some of the languages isn't the best, but anyways, for voice, you got a good chunk of options. However, not everything is recognized. Voice is not recognized for every language. So, for example, Latin, Spanish, um, there's nothing special for that. You can't even. There's no voice recognition for that. Catalan, text and nothing else. Arabic has voice, text, and none. And then you've got voice recognition mode, which the most extreme is none. So that way you can't use voice recognition. I don't even know how the spirit box would work with that, to be honest. Um, then text, which gives you a series of question prompts that you can pick from. And system voice and voice. System voice uses like Windows or whatever for the voice recognition, and then voice uses a different system inherent to the game. Sometimes you may find yourself needing to go between voice and system voice, maybe even text in some cases. Text is a good way to get a number of valid questions for voice recognition, which would be the spirit box, the Ouija board, and the monkey paw for the most part. Crossplay on or off. There's really not a reason to turn this off, but it needs to be set on if you want to play in lobbies with people on console um, and such. Aim sensitivity. I have it set to 2.1 right now. You might want to play with this depending on how you are with the mouse. And then you can invert the X or Y axis. I don't do that. Actually, auto aim, I'm not even sure what how that works. There's a lot of these options I've barely touched on PC. I'm not sure how it works on. I wonder what auto aim looks like. I don't see anything special here. Okay, so I have no idea. Field of view, I have it maxed out at 90. I can't remember what the default is, but the higher your field of view is, the more you can see in front of you. But it looks kind of stretched sometimes. Head bob can be on or off, so if your character moving around, that kind of bobbing feeling, you don't like it, motion sickness or something, you can turn that off. Sprint mode can be set to hold or toggle. I have it set to hold. Um, Degrees can be set in Celsius or Fahrenheit. For the most part, you could technically use it to learn both systems if you're not familiar, as it's really only shown on the thermometers, and there's only certain values you need to know. At one point, there was only one cursor, but now you've got multiple options for the cursor. You can set the opaqueness of the cursor, you can set the size, the virtual cursor speed, um, also different options for the highlight cursor. Um, I have it set to different ones, but I have the highlight cursor turned off all the same. You can change the cursor color. You can also set the different colors for players 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you're colorblind like me, you may want to set them so they're very obvious. And we've got video. Brightness starts at 100%, but bringing it to 250 has some advantages. And if you're going to record videos, you probably want it set to the highest. Um, Full screen mode can be windowed or full screen. You got VSync. I have it currently turned on, so I don't have to worry about the tearing. You can set resolutions, anti-aliasing, MSA quality, and so on here. You can override sharpness. Um, texture resolutions. If your computer isn't the best, you might want to adjust some of these. If you want some more frames a second, I try to keep everything on the highest setting. My computer's a good number of years old. I haven't found a need to really turn them down per se, but if some of these things are bothering you, like eye adaptation, makes everything brighter or dimmer, I have that turned off because it throws me off sometimes. And audio, you can set volume, you can set the speakers. There's a bunch of different speaker options depending on what you have. Most people play with headphones. I think the best for that is stereo. I haven't actually played with anything else. You can set the microphone and you can set the voice input mode. This is where the local push-to-talk comes into play here. If you set this to push-to-talk, even in a single-player game, you'll have to hold down the push-to-talk button before the game will register what you say, or you can set voice recognition or toggle. I usually use voice recognition for the sake of immersion. The other options are definitely useful. And then, of course, the controls, which I've mentioned before, that you can set to different things and referencing. It's only going to show the controls for what system you're using. So on the console, it's going to show the controller options. And I don't think on there you can actually change it, but I may be wrong. So let's start our first game here. A single player amateur with starting equipment. This will be what you see by default. You get these things for free. You get one copy of these things for free, and then I have it set to tier 1, although I do have the other tiers unlocked. And then a difficulty, amateur, intermediate, so on and so forth. You can also make up to 3 custom ones. I'm going to start us off on amateur. We will probably get through amateur pretty quickly, and if you have a certain amount of confidence, you might even start on intermediate or professional. And then you've got your ID card here, whatever you have unlocked. You probably, if you're a new player, you probably have nothing, and there's not even going to be a Roman numeral. It'll probably be nothing and then a 1 or 0, 1 or whatever. It's been so long since I've been down there that I don't even remember what it looks like. Every time you hit level 100, you can prestige, and it'll reset the level back to 1, and then it will increment the prestige level. So I've gone through this 8 times. I could do it a 9th actually coming up soon. And then going on here, you vote on a contract. Now in single player, this is not going to matter. Multiplayer, everybody has a vote. And here's all the different maps. Now, the maps that I recommend starting out with are Tanglewood, Edgefield, Ridgeview, and Willow. Those are the small houses. I would say learn those first. And then Tanglewood, which used to be called Tutorial House sometimes, because it was what the old training was, is what we're going to start with here. Honestly, more than half my games are on Tanglewood because it's a small, familiar map. These other ones are bigger and much more complicated. So once you've got all that, you got the start button where you can leave. Hit the start and they'll start loading up. Now, the first time you load up a map, it can take a little bit longer.
Alright, we're here.
Anyways, here's the truck during an investigation.
Before starting the investigation.
The little narration at the beginning is just for flavor, and it has nothing to do with the actual investigation.
Maybe using it to help your investigation.
So you'll notice a couple of things here. You'll notice a clock that's at 5 minutes. That's the setup period, which setup period only exists on amateur, intermediate, and if you want to set it up on a custom difficulty. During the setup period, the ghosts can't hunt you. Keep in mind there's ways to avoid the setup period, such as using the cursed possession. And then you've got the computer setup here. Most of this stuff right here is completely cosmetic. The only thing important is the thing in the middle. Now, as you've seen in the truck with training, that was the old model. So going on here, you got 3 options. You got CCTV cameras, which there's one. On a lot of maps, the CCTV camera is basically useless. It's just to show you what to expect to look at. And in some cases, you can zoom in, turn night vision on or off, pan, or even have record, which in this case you can't. then video cameras, you can have them all linked up here. I mean, you can bring a total of 4 video cameras here, so get the 4 feeds. We'll take a look at that a little later. And then head cameras, which aren't a starting item, so we're not going to worry about that in this video. And then over here we have boards that list the daily and the weekly tasks again, so that you can be familiar. You can even pick these up and move around with them. I guess you can't. Well, you can sort of put them back. And then here we have the objectives board. It mentions the case number, so I've played 3,443 games prior to this. Lists the name of the ghost, which can be important, and then whether it responds to everybody or one person, or it's not sure, depending on the difficulty. The first objective is always guessing which ghost it is, and then it gives you 3 more random ones, which may or may not be completable depending on what equipment you bring. In this case, it's have a member of the team escape the ghost during hunt, which is doable with starting equipment. Have a member of the team witness a ghost event, which is different from a hunt, which is also doable, and then prevent the ghost from hunting with a crucifix, which we don't have a crucifix, so that's not possible. And then on here is the various bits of evidence, media that you can get, which is 5 videos, 5 photos, and 3 sound recordings. Now, we don't have a photo camera, we don't have a sound recorder, so the best we could do is to get 5 video clips. And then over here on the pegboards, we have the starter equipment. There's 8 pieces. First thing you might want to pick up with E is a flashlight. Turn it on and off, as you see. And then you've got other pieces, which we're going to go through. You've got the EMF reader. This is a tier 1. You've got the tier 1 spirit box, which again can use voice recognition, a tier 1 thermometer, tier 1 UV light, tier 1 ghost writing book, tier 1 dots projector, laser pointer, tier 1 video camera. Okay. So you can, on PC, you can only take 3 of these in your inventory at a time. So you might want to think about what you want to bring in initially. In a multiplayer, between 8 pieces of equipment and up to 4 people could bring in everything. That's good and bad, I guess. So what do you want to bring in initially? Well, you might do the EMF reader. Try to see ghost interactions, see what level they are, and it also can give a piece of evidence, which is EMF 5. And then the thermometer, which you might be able to detect freezing temperatures, and even if it doesn't have freezing, the ghost's favorite room, which we'll get to in the next video, will always be colder than the rest of the location. And then we have the 4 monitors up here, which the first one is a map monitor. It has multiple floors. You can go through them. You'll see various icons for things, including players, motion sensors, sound sensors. And you'll see, the important thing is to see an icon of where the power box is. That's something to keep in mind. On Tanglewood, there's only 2 places it could be, and that's in this big room here, which is the garage, or it could be down in the basement. And then below that, we have the team sanity, so it lists each player, along with what their sanity's at. Now, it's showing between 99 and 98 and 100, but it's really at 100. And then it shows the average, which is going to be the same if you're only 1 player. And then we have the sound sensor monitor. We're not really going to cover that in this video, but you can deploy up to 4 sound sensors. And then we have total activity. This is EMF signatures in their total for the entire location. So we'll be getting that in another video. And then we have the key. Always make sure to pick this up. This is the key to all the external exits at the location. And then press left click for the keypad to open up the truck. And then this is the Tanglewood location. Outside is outside, along with the truck. Ghost can't hunt you out here, and you generally can't get evidence either. There's some specifics to that which are not true. But yeah, you can pretty much stay out here as long as you want. Now, the ghost doesn't spawn until you go up to the door. Now, if I had the highlight cursor up, it would show a lock symbol, which I don't. Actually, you know what? Let me turn that on for a second here. Let's see. So, see, it locks simple. The ghost hasn't spawned, and it won't spawn until you unlock the door. Over. So I unlocked it. Okay, the ghost has spawned at the location, and it can do stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Until next time, have a good one.